You're such an asshole.
2022 is going to be the year I start beating the shit out of my clients. Now, my client here has not screwed up, but I just went through my emails. And just so you guys know, 2022, there's going to be a lot of taxes. And I'm thinking like upping it to like $500 for any mistake you make. Like if you don't follow the fucking instructions, you guys are getting fucking penalized. Because I don't have time for this shit. I do not have time for this shit. And life in Cappy's world is not perfect either. I got to deal with other normal standard fucking bullshit like everyone else in this world, you know, just regularly going out and all that. And I come back and I got a bunch of freaking like, do you not follow instructions? Did you not pay me? Like, oh, I got to pay you. So I think 2022 is going to be the year Cappy starts breaking on an even bigger whip and put some, I don't know, razor blades at the end of it. But this is not the client here. Hey, Cappy, returning customer and huge fan of yours. I was pretty much listened to your podcast and books for years now. You even helped me get over a jam with an old useless employer. While I'm not entirely past the teeners at work, I am at a point where I have to deal with it way less. I have to deal with way less of them in comparison to my old job. Anyway, I bought my first house in 2020, similar to yours, brand new, but not as customized like you have things. However, I have a few questions, though, that are nagging me about the house and just general financing when one finally gets a job that pays above average. One, based on your talks about letting Brandon and his inflation pay your house off, do you recommend at least getting rid of PMI? Yes. PMI is BS. I don't even know why we have PMI, because we just bail out the banks and PMI, property mortgage insurance, where it's like, oh, what if you don't pay? You know, like there's a high loan to value ratio. Maybe you don't have the greatest credit score. What they do then is require property mortgage insurance. Like all other insurance, that should go into a fund. So that in the case a certain percentage of people don't pay their mortgages, the banks are insured against that. It's the watered down version of that. But that's why we have the taxpayer and the Federal Reserve and the printing presses. Money printer go burr. And with inflation going up, housing inflation particularly, if it keeps going like it has, I mean, it kind of takes care of itself, because you need to get 20% equity in your home. Wait a year or two, and then you get an appraisal. That appraisal shows 20%, and then you get rid of your PMI. But yes, get rid of PMI. Absolutely get rid of PMI. Do you consider paying at least 6 to 7 payments ahead, part of your emergency fund? Do you consider at least payments as part of your emergency fund? I'm considering this just in case the market gets worse and I lose my job. I do have an emergency fund of 10 months currently. I know I am pretty much paying a bunch in taxes versus having the extra go to principal, but I am a noob. I don't really understand this question. You have 10 months emergency cash. That's the number one thing. The number one, well, 10 is good. That's very good. The number one thing, I don't care if you get a match at the office, to insure yourself against the strap-on dick that your boomer boss is going to put on, try and fuck you in the ass with, because they don't have a big enough dick to do it. Even the men, especially male boomers, they got to put on a strap-on because their penises are about that big. The number one thing you do as a young man or woman, or any man or woman, to make sure you don't have to suffer a psychopathic boss, and just go watch Joshua Fluke's channel, is you get your emergency fund. Then you worry about investments or anything like that, but you need to secure that right off the bat. So if you walk into an office and it's a bullshit job and they're lying, you could protect your resume. You walk right off the job on day number 2, and then you're not a job hopper. You don't even put it on your resume. So that's number one. You have your emergency fund. And then I would say after that would come any kind of match you get, because there's a 100% rate of return. And then when it comes to making accelerated mortgage payments, principal payments, then it depends on how much high interest debt you have. If you have a credit card because you were a moron and it pays 24%, or you got to pay 24% interest, I'd be paying that off first. That's a no-brainer. Then once you get down to like, 6, 7, 8%, which is your student loans, kind of credit card, maybe a car loan level, Then what I would do is like, okay, as long as you got the cash flow for it, then I would go and try and toss a little bit. You don't have to do it all in one shot, but have some go principal payment into your mortgage early on, at least in the first 2 or 3 years. But then you also take care of the other moderately interest-bearing debt. You toss that into that as well. But the key thing is have your emergency fund taken care of, match contributions to any match 401ks that you have. And then, yeah, the sooner you toss that principal into a mortgage or any long-term debt, the more acceleration through the power of compounding mathematics or exponential mathematics that will help lower your balance sooner, earlier, and end that mortgage quicker. Even though technically, mathematically, Brandon will still do that, I still like tossing a little bit of money early on now to save yourselves months, if not years, of mortgage payments in the future. The psychological benefit, which you can't measure financially, you can't put a financial price tag on that, but that's worth working an extra job now for a year or two, making that extra principal payment and being done with it. 3, currently I'm stocking up on ammo, silver when I can, food, and a few other items you mentioned. With the market being the way it is and how the veil has pretty much been lifted off the market, insider trading, hedge fund trade. Forget all that. How about the market is now driven by how much money we print off? There is no more fundamental investing. None. The entire finance profession is moot and obsolete. There's no reason to even bother hiring a finance professional. Index investing, money printer go burr, hedge against inflation. There's no investing. It's not investing. It's insurance. It's hedge against inflation. That's it. Is it worth investing? Hedge for sure. But is it worth investing anything outside of 401k match and a Roth IRA? I consider just taking my extra money and buying crypto here and there, and I just don't know, living life. When I say living life, I don't mean above my means, but people are dropping like flies, and I want hope. Yeah, the balance between going out and having fun. Well, what I would do, do your 401k and your IRA so you get your match, you get your tax benefit, whether that's Roth or traditional. I'm not going to go into whether should I do Roth or traditional. It's a whole other video, and there's a ton of other videos that not for you. I know there's going to be like, well, what do I do? I don't know. Google it. So once you do that, and here's the other thing. A lot of people, they fail to understand this about personal financial management. If you don't fuck up, you're pretty good to go. When you sound like a single bachelor without any kids, without a wife, as long as you do this, you live below your means, then you get to that point where you're being a minimalist or not a profligate spender, then you can entertain things like living life and going and traveling and all that. And once you're talking about your silver and your bullets and your ammo and your food, and that's all good, you should start storing that up. I get like at least a year's worth of food. Have enough ammo that you can defend the place until whatever the National Guard comes by or something like that. Or hunt. That's more the important thing with ammo. Silver, hopefully you never got to use it. But I would say for something more practical is the plan B. You got to go and find a place to live outside the United States. Now, whether that's buying land overseas or traveling to reconnoiter the globe, those are investments you have to do. Now, whether your job allows for that or not, I don't know. But I would be spending a significant amount of time going to places like if you could travel for a week or if you could travel for work, go and check out Panama, go check out Costa Rica, Central America area. Go check out Asia, and this is the pot calling the kettle black because I have yet to do these things. But that's an elephant you got to eat one bite at a time, and you might as well start now. And so things like that, even something simple like, can you get a foreign passport? Can you get foreign citizenship or residency? Why don't you, go do that? Hire a lawyer in a country after you do some research, like, I'd like to gain residency here. Those are all things that you could toss your money into well before you should toss it into cable, a sports car, buying dinner for the girls, master's degrees, plenty of other things that are a bigger waste of time than that. And I would think, building a life raft essentially so that you could continue on in another country in case this one goes to pot, or it just becomes too onerous and oppressive and taxing. That's what I would do. And then go and have and live life. But that's your daily planning. That's your personal time management skills. Like, yeah, go have some fun. Go enjoy life. But yeah, once you got that 401k IRA and some basics down, you got your emergency reserve down, and you pay. I mean, and understand this can't all be done in one day. All right, but once it is done, it'll take at least 5 years, depending on how much money you make. After 5 years, yeah, then you can. Okay, now I can go have fun. But I mean, I'm almost 50. And I'm still doing I got to go find a place to live. Now a lot of that is due to the fact that Americans have voted to basically eliminate private property, have made it not so guaranteed that what is yours, as the parasites become a higher percentage of the population. But that it would be a lot easier if we will put it in the Constitution or the law that you own your stuff and we can't take it from you, so that you have an incentive to work, so that your savings and your life savings is not going to be taken away. But that's not the times we live in, because the social scientists knew so much better. I'm sure you've probably answered these questions a million times over. Not really, my bad if so. However, I really appreciate it if you, and for the young men, especially black men like myself. Oh, you're black? Dang, I would have given you a different. No. Oh, I didn't know you were black. Gee, well. Go buy rims there. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, that's fine. No, great. Thank for a normal question. Good to see you're working, but there's that. All right, let's go to the super chats. If we have any. All right, let's see. Boo boo doo boo 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 boo. Boom, we're done. All right, see you guys later. Toodles.